Hi, this is Al Steele, and I'm very excited about this. This is possibly the first song on the new album, You and I at the End of the World, and it's a great groove song called That's How We Ended Up Here. There's some other documentation on how the song was written and all that online, but this is about the recording process of it and how it came about. And I kind of knew that I knew this was a groove song and that the groove was paramount. And I spent quite a lot of time on trying to get the guitar, there's a little clavinet, the drums, and the bass to work. I've since added some other elements to it, which kind of make it work more. So I'm gonna take you to the Sonar screen now. That's what I'm gonna do, and show you what's going on here. Now, those who've kind of done it live streams will know that the stuff at the top is all vocals. The pinky and red things are all vocals. So I'm just going to make that a little bit more bigger screen. Bigger's better. But we're not going to start there. We're going to start, I think, with the rhythm section. So I've got subgroups down the bottom here. So I'm just going to turn off all the vocals for the moment. And let's just hear what we have going on here. In fact, there's something else I'm going to turn off because it was a little later addition down at the bottom. I've got an expand synth. Okay, so let's hear what is going on here. So this is the bass of the song. And I started with this Telecaster. One of that Stones kind of clunky thing. So it's kind of fingerstyle, it's played fingerstyle. And I knew that needed to go with the drums. When Paul replaces these fake drums, it will be more adventurous than this. And the third element is the bass guitar, which doesn't do quite what you'd expect it to, because it doesn't play on all the beats. Sometimes it plays in between. A bit like Little Feat would do, really. The fourth element of this is there's a little clavinet. I'm going to take those solos off and put you back on here. It's more or less doubling the guitar. Not quite. Back in. Okay, so there's the basic groove. It was something that was very infectious. And let me stick the lead vocal in with it. I'm going to kind of solo this because I've got a few things heading into this lead vocal track. If I play for first verse, there's only one vocal here. So this will give you the idea of this is how the lead vocal works with it. I had a butler and I had a maid. Big spare house in LA. I had truffles and oysters, the whole world at my feet, and limousines. Well, I had a fleet, lovely girls, so many to choose. My life was charmed, I just couldn't lose. So I was quite happy with the way that is all sounding, but I thought, needs backing vocals, and I was kind of almost had Prince in my head when I was thinking of some of these, and you'll kind of get that when I say it. But every now and then I'll join in on a line, do a 3-part block or something like that. This is all me at the moment, but it will be probably a collection of people over the top that will make this kind of sound better again. So here it is with BBs. And I had a maid, big spare house in LA. Block coming up at the top, the pink ones. Okay, so those vocals are weaving in and out. Of course, the linchpin is a "That's how I ended up" that comes in every now and then and just reaffirms that. So these blocks sound a bit like this. Ooh, got a bit of funny stuff going on there. That's how I ended up. Girls, so many to choose. My life was charmed, I just couldn't lose. Ooh, one more bid. That's how I ended up. There we are. So regular 3-part blocks, but using a lot of sevenths, some quite close things. So you got da 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 da. And at the top of that would have been da 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 da. So those all kind of creep up with each other. A bit like you would play on guitar. I'll tell you what, I'm going to come back to me and just show you what I mean. We're in the key of C here. We're in key of G rather. Sorry. So if you think of that kind of thing on guitar, which is very common to play, but if you do that with vocals, you get that kind of sound, a much more close sound, a much more edgy sound. So kind of was after that. Back on the screen, back up here. So in the context of that, you can hear these a little louder now, the BVs. Yeah, so sometimes just following the chords and sometimes not. And there we are. So that was the basis of it all, and I put the whole song down like that. There is a middle 8 section which does something completely different, which I'll go to in a minute. And second verse, more or less the same, third verse the same. And of course, when you do that, you start to go, oh, yeah, but actually I'm a bit bored now. So I thought it needed the second element musically to come in. I thought it needed some other stuff vocally as well, but it needed a second element musically. So what I did is when I hit this second verse, we got this synth. I'm going to solo it by itself because you go, what the hell is that? That's like, I don't know what he's doing with that, but here's what it sounds like. Okay, let's do it by itself. Nothing. Okay, so that is wild. I'm going to put a dim solo on this so you can hear how it works in the background. And this is something I do with guitar often. I look at where the gaps in and put some little funky things in where there are gaps. So that's rarely on the beat. It's usually off the beat, in between the beats. And that's what I've done with this because the guitar is playing on the beat in this song. So this is how it works. Okay, and that makes the rhythm section complete. If I turn off the lead vocals and listen to that again, now all of a sudden that sounds much fuller. Oh yeah, I forgot we've got a piano in there as well, which is just playing very random stuff. So that piano may not stay because I've got an idea to put another very random guitar over it. There's a friend of mine that I know who I'd like to bring in to do some guitar on this, but more on that if that happens. So we'll see. Okay, so there we are. There's the vocals over the top of that. Now, in the middle of all of this, I kind of decided that You know that old, as a John Lee Hooker song, I'm a man. We get that, ow, in the background all the time. I'm a man, yeah. All that stuff. I just kind of fancied having some of that in the background. So I did a little loop of that. So have a little listen to this. It's a bit wild. It's very random. Give him somewhere to belong. Sorry, I'm going to take off the solo. Okay, so there's a pair of them early on, and this is a line that you hear. So I'm going to put a dim solo in this so you see how it works with the track, and you'll hear these voices that just come in, and they just add a little bit of grunge to it. And so those are quite subliminal. The main one that you hear was me doing, yeah, isn't. That's a bit more in your face. I'm thinking of maybe pulling that back a little bit so it isn't quite so heavy as that. Let's hear this in connection with the track. This is how that sounds. And believe it or not, that goes behind all of the verses, just carries on with that, stuff. Not as much the loud one that you hear there, but the softer one that you hear goes in between all of those last verses. And then there will be extra vocals on this. So I'm thinking of this as a 3-vocal song. Certainly one of the vocals will be female, and another will be male. And they will come in and out and do odd lines. Probably easiest seen on the 3rd verse, where all of a sudden all of these lead vocals are happening all at once. Where I've just listed this as girl there, girl, boy, and me. So we get on the 3rd verse, we get this kind of idea. I had a butler and I had a maid. Sorry, I'm not hearing them. Why am I not hearing them? There is a very good... Oh, yeah, because that one's wrong. That one's there. Because I've got a solo on somewhere, haven't I? Yeah, there we are. Okay, so hopefully this will be a little better. I had a butler and I had... Oh, I'm on the wrong verse. That's why. Sorry about that. This is verse 3. It's a long song, so it's easily lost. Here we go. This is what the 3rd verse sounds like with just the leads. He was only a game show host, and his primary skill was to boast. He said his opponents were all criminal sorts, and one by one they fell through the board. He said he would end all the wars. So you get very kind of random stuff going on, very Rolling Stones in a way, the way that they would do their vocals, so that it's not too worked out. Probably also like the band used to do on that first band album. They worked on the vocals being loose. So I didn't have to work very hard on these being loose. They are just loose. So there we are. The 3rd verse, you take the solo off and stick all of those things. You've got the ambient in the background. You've got 3 kind of lead vocals and the backing vocals in there as well. A little bit like this. He was only a game show host, and his primary skill was to boast. Regular BBs come in. He said his opponents were all criminal sorts, and one by one they fell through the board. He said he would end all the wars, but first he had to settle some scores. There we are. There's the basis of the song. Let's just look at the middle 8 quick, because this does a complete departure, and it's intended to be a complete departure. Lyrically, it's a bit of an explanation of how this sort of things happens. When you go, how did we end up here? How did I end up here? How did you end up here? And it's basically the explanation is it happens little by little, piece by piece, until it's too late to go back. Here's what it does immediately after that second verse. That's how you ended up here. Intentionally floaty. This will be full orchestra will come in, strings at least, making it a much more lush sound. Only happens in this middle section. Little by little it whittled away, the heat of the sun to a tepid gray. Intentional, like Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young harmonies. In fact, worth having a look at those harmonies. I'm just going to solo them so you hear them come out of the mix. Little by little it whittled away, the heat of the sun to a tepid gray, a parasite with undetectable stare. You look in a mirror and can't see yourself anymore. So this whole section was intended to be like an oasis in the middle of it. And at some point the drums will stop and we end up with back into it. As if there's no release from it. Relentless. And that's it. That's how I ended up here. I'm going to come back up to me on the screen. It's quite a... In some ways, it's quite simple. There's not lots and lots of instruments. There's only one guitar part, one clavinet part, little piano, which might not even be there, and that synth. And the rest, regular drums. I'm going to get Paul to play some more random stuff on it. I was just thinking at home this morning, they go and it go boom, cat, boom, 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 cat, boom, boom, cat. Boom, boom, bar. So that bass drum not being on, if it's a 2-bar pattern, not being on beat 1 of the second pattern, and that will work with the bass being a little bit more random. So we look forward to actually hearing what he does when he comes in with it. Little way off doing real drums on anything. I'll probably actually put, generally, maybe I might put all the songs down first with fake stuff and then gradually replace them. But we'll see. Might do it bit by bit as well. It'll all be an adventure. Thanks so much for tuning in and have a listen to this. Hope you find it interesting, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.